Shut the door. Or leave it open, I don't care. Let's go hard.
Is this like a kamikaze situation?
The second season of White Lotus just premiered, and while the show follows the same formula as season 1, this time they've hinted at multiple dead bodies instead of just one. Now, since that makes things take a dark but interesting turn, in this video, we'll talk about the top main characters in the White Lotus season 2 who are the most likely to die. Let's get started. First up, we have Cameron Sullivan. Played by Theo James, Cameron Sullivan is a rich, successful, and quite handsome businessman who's already shown us traits that come off as being arrogant, cocky, and kind of manipulative. Those are enough grounds to kill off a character, right? What really got to us was his insanely weird and strange encounter with Harper in their hotel room. Just creepy vibes overall. And he even made strange comments about sleeping with other people's wives, which may allude to something that might happen later in the show. Fans have claimed that they sense his character might try and make a move on Harper, which could ultimately mean the end for him. Sullivan has wasted no time getting on several characters' bad side. Yep, Cameron is one of those characters who will end up dead by the end of this season, or at least that's what we think.
I don't want to go home.
What's wrong with home?
Up next, we have Ethan Spiller. Will Sharp plays the role of Ethan Spiller, whom we find out went to college with Cameron and were even roommates. Now, Ethan's a lot more reserved, low-key, and just calm compared to his old university mate. He easily gives off the impression that he's one of those guys who couldn't hurt a fly if they tried. He leaves no stone unturned when it comes to defending Cameron, including the time when he got dressed in front of Harper. She's your wife, bro. We think that just because Cameron invited him and Harper to Sicily doesn't mean he can get away with pretty much anything. Well, there's definitely a possibility that Ethan might eventually end up blowing a fuse over one thing or the other. And that could become his downfall, or someone else's. Moving on to Harper Spiller. The mysterious Harper Spiller, played by one of our favorites, Aubrey Plaza. Harper's married to Ethan, hence the shared surname. Don't worry, they're not siblings. And is immediately skeptical of the kind of relationship Cameron has with his wife, Daphne, considering their lack of interest in anything really. Initially, it seems like Harper might be the one to commit a murder, if not several murders, instead of being the victim. Plus, Plaza's performance just gives her that coldness that we know we wouldn't have gotten from anyone else. We can even picture her right now on top of all the corpses as the last woman standing. But based on what we know from the premiere, there's a definite possibility that she might surprise us yet and end up as one of the washed up bodies on the beach. Coming up, it's Dominic DeGrasso. Over the years, Michael Imperioli has done a number of iconic roles, and he's here to grace our screens once again as a divorced father named Dominic DeGrasso. He brings his father and son to this Sicilian vacation and is one of the prime suspects who will end up dead at the end of the show. Dom usually keeps his cool in many tense situations, like his wife yelling at him over the phone and being embarrassed by Bert during his breakfast over his interactions with the Italian escort Lucia. But he does give us the impression of a man who's barely hanging on. Could that be his unraveling and the end? Also, Dominic and his son Albie share a strained relationship, since Albie hates how his father treats women and might even end up taking care of Dom himself. The father-son arc is an interesting angle, and we definitely think there may be some truth there depending on which direction the writers decide to take the show in. Let's talk about Albie DeGrasso. Albie DeGrasso is portrayed by Adam DeMarco, whom you might remember from his Disney Channel days when the actor starred in the film Radio Rebel. Dominic's son seems to be very disgruntled with his family, but there's nothing we've seen so far that seriously puts his life at risk, other than his clear disdain for his dad. His biggest investment so far has been the friendship he's developed with Portia, and this may be a bit of a long stretch, but if Tanya finds out that Portia's busy spending time with Albie instead of being in her room, she might try and get rid of Albie. Not entirely an impossible situation altogether. And hey, your guess is as good as ours right now. Following up with Mia. As played by Italian actress Beatrice Grano, Mia is Lucia's friend trying to sneak her way into the hotel. Mia has sufficiently entangled herself in Lucia's escort lifestyle, including her interaction with the old piano player who took the pills that sent him to the hospital. She could continue to try to get intimate with someone else to get money, someone like Dominic, and that has multiple opportunities to go wrong. He could even end up killing her. Regardless, if anyone ends up going after Lucia, they'll eventually get to Mia as well, and none of this spells out good news for her. She's not even a staff member or a formal guest, so who would end up protecting her? That girl needs to get out of Sicily ASAP. Moving on to Bert, the third member of the DeGrasso family. Bert is played by the legendary actor F. Murray Abraham. He's an older gentleman who takes a special interest in flirting with the girls, especially the ones who are a lot younger than him. We're sorry to disappoint you with this this one, but the most plausible explanation for his death wouldn't be due to some suspicious foul play, but rather just plain old age. Now, no disrespect to old Nano here, who tries a little too hard with the ladies, but the first episode already saw him almost hurt himself because of a fall. He got a concussion, and at his age, it's not exactly easy to recover from physical injuries, so it wouldn't be a huge shock if he's dead by the end of the season. But then again, Bert kinda loves to stir the pot, especially when it comes to his son. And well, there may come a time when Dominic has just had it. What better place to get rid of your aging old father, whom you secretly hate, than gorgeous Sicily, right Dom? Let's talk about Portia. Haley Lou Richardson plays the role of Portia, who's Tanya's young assistant. Now from the beginning, she's told to stay in her room for the entire duration of the trip, since Greg doesn't want her there. Honestly, we'd get super mad if we were told to stay in our room for the entire trip, just because old Greg is a cranky man. For much of the season, she's been all tangled up in Tanya's mess, and her only real enemy is basically Greg. The audience has already discovered that he's not 100% there mentally, and might even do some seriously questionable things should he find her still here. Also, considering Portia and Tanya's relationship, she may end up being the scapegoat for what Tanya saw happen between Jack and Quentin, whatever that might be. Since the premiere, she's been a fan favorite, and we're sure audiences aren't going to be too happy if she ends up being one of the dead ones.
I'm so sorry that I was eavesdropping.
Well,
Finally, the last one on our list is Greg. Like Tanya, John Grise has also come back from season 1 to reprise his role as Greg Hutt, but this time, the two returned as husband and wife. They met in season 1 and sparked off an unexpected but somewhat wholesome romance that we definitely didn't think would end up in marriage. Back in season 1, Greg had some strange tendencies, but seemed harmless enough. But in season 2, his behavior has just gotten weirder, in a season where the stakes seemed to be much higher than before. Not only was he caught having a secret phone call, he even gaslit Tanya into thinking she had 5 macaroons. It looks like the honeymoon period is over for the two of them. Now, Tanya could potentially discover some shady secrets that Greg clearly seems to be hiding, which could be the end of their marriage. And she wouldn't just stop there. She'd probably dump him in the ocean and be on her way. But there's one slight problem. We saw Greg leave Sicily even though it was under some seriously shady circumstances. But it looks like he's got a strong alibi for now. The man has a whole past full of multiple marriages and several secrets. And while we're trying not to judge him, he just doesn't exactly come off as innocent. Now, the real question is, will he end up dying, or will he contribute to the people dying in Sicily?
If you want to keep the party going.
well, I like fun.
Just stop pretending to be my friend. I'm just some prop you use for some weird cred.
That's a wrap for this video. Do you have any thoughts about these top main characters that are most likely to die? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this.